And, we're always asked questions about what's your differentiators? And if your differentiator is just dumping on the competition, I think you've just differentiated yourself in the most negative way possible.
All right, welcome to another episode of Relocation Leader. I'm your host, Zach Turbis. I'm here with Lonn Kammeyer, the Senior Manager of Service Partner Relationships with NEI Global Relocation. And Lonn, we're going to talk about service partner relationships and cooperation.
Sounds good.
Why don't you just give a brief overview of kind of what you do for NEI and, how you're good at what you do?
Yeah, so I've been at NEI now for a little over 8.5 years. I actually started out as a assistant account executive on the operations team. And after about 9 months there, I decided that maybe operations was not my best path forward in the company. And I actually was given a recommendation to join the service partner relationship team. And I've taken that and run with it ever since. And I'm currently the senior manager. And I oversee all of a team of 4 individuals that manage all the different services that NEI Global Relocation offers to our transferring employees.
Nice. So I'm curious, if your job was a sport, what sport would it be?
Oh, if my job was a sport, I think it'd be a lot of tennis because we'd be hitting questions back and forth. But it's probably more of a sport of understanding how to manage varying personalities and situations. So I kind of think of managing the overall service partner network as managing a football team, because you have offense, you have defense, you have special teams, you have a lot of different skill sets involved with managing different services. So you need to have people that have, maybe a real focus on customer service, communication, like constant updates, things like that. But then you might need someone that is more in tune with the technical aspects of it. So more of a coach in that sense that can coach you through maybe an immigration into a new country or an area orientation. It's going to take local knowledge and depth to be able to provide that type of comfortability with your new area. As far as it relates to clients, I think of the service partner network as it relates to clients as like managing a baseball team, because with the baseball team, with each client, they need their own unique lineup. Some clients are maybe high touch, high demand, and others, maybe we only do a limited amount of services for. So with that, we want to make sure that we have maybe a balanced lineup, or maybe a lineup with a lot of versatility, a lot of switch hitters, a lot of people that can do multiple services rather than just focusing on one area.
Yes. So, when you're thinking about putting together a network that covers the whole globe, what all goes into, not just managing the relationships in that network, but actually building out the network?
Oh, there's a lot that goes into it. I think, first is just understanding that we're a global company. We need to have a diverse amount of partners throughout the globe that maybe specialize in certain regions and certain areas, but also have maybe a unifying theme of understanding customer service, understanding service delivery, and understanding communication. So when we're looking at building out the network, of course, we're first going to rely on, all the different trade associations that support the relocation world, like CHIPA, like EURA, FEDI FAME. Those are the types of organizations we're going to look for partners that are associated with them, because they have set kind of a baseline of expectations for how customer service, how communication is delivered, how invoicing is done. So that gives us a good baseline, that knowing that they've met those expectations of a larger, global organization, they're likely going to, fit into what we're looking for from a service partner.
Can you give an overview of what supplier relationship management looks like, on a global scale when you're actually trying to manage all those suppliers?
Okay. So I think first is, again, like setting the expectations that we have, kind of baseline expectations of communication, our SLAs, our key performance indicators. But then also just ensuring consistent communication with that partner, reviewing processes, reviewing service successes and service failures, and also understanding the unique cultural differences we're going to have throughout the world. Like we're based here in Omaha right now. This is where I've grown up. I don't have a whole lot of international experience, but I know enough to know that not everywhere is like, Omaha, not everywhere is like the United States. So having an appreciation and also an understanding of how to effectively communicate what our expectations are with someone from a different culture in a different area. And, I think ultimately we get together in the sense of we're taking care of the customer, we're taking care of the client, we're delivering great service, and we have satisfaction from the person we're delivering that service to. I think that language is universal, in my opinion.
What surprised you about working with suppliers, maybe from when you first started working with suppliers to now? Has there anything that has changed along the way in how you do business? Or, is there anything that just stands out as like, I wasn't expecting this coming in, but, this is a huge part of the business that just shouldn't be overlooked?
I think the biggest thing, at least from my standpoint, is just like seeing the situation from multiple perspectives. Because when things come up, and especially with experience, if someone comes to me and is very passionate about an issue that they have, that energy and that passion, I'll absorb it. And I have to, what I've learned is that it's not always a positive to then transfer that energy into the situation. Not only will it set up the service partner to be like, where'd this come from? But also it could set me up for, being really disappointed in an outcome when I'm just looking at it from one perspective. And so I think that experience of just, making sure to balance all of the different factors into a situation that's brought into my purview, and looking for that good, amicable but workable solution to get us moving forward, and not have kind of leave a stain on the entire relocation. Because, this is something we preach often to our service partners is, if something happens with your service delivery, that can set the table or an expectation for every other service partner that interacts with that transferee afterwards. So it's just so important that we, start off on the right foot, set the table appropriately, set those expectations up front, and that'll lead to success down the road.
Sort of in our minds, explain to other providers the type of provider we're looking for. Well, like what kind of principles would you like convey, or how would you explain the type of company that you're looking for?
I would say we're looking for companies that, are self-reflective about their place in the industry and how they can improve it, and how they can then apply, those types of philosophies to, growing their business. But I think the other thing is that, what we're looking for is, number one is customer service. Like, you need to have a, extremely strong customer service base, customer service philosophy, like a passion for providing solutions for transferees. It's hard to quantify that sometimes. It's really kind of born out in practice, and you can kind of see that. As we've talked about, every partner wants to get more business. And while, I can tell them the exact strategies for that is be more responsive, be highly communicative. As small of an issue as it may seem in your mind, make sure the account executive's aware of it. look for innovative solutions in situations around budgeting specifically, or when we present you with like a potential project option, like go above and beyond.
Yeah, that's not just like, like look at our coverage and who else are you going to use in this industry. It's not taking that model. It's like, no, I want to earn your business.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you're happy so that this is a long.
Yeah. And I think the other thing about it is like, any temp living company can work with any temp living company. And they could just say, hey, we have the best apartments, but in the same sense, they could be working with another company that owns that apartment, but they're upfront about that. They'll tell us when it's their options or when it's someone else's. And, they're still very collaborative with those partners. That's one thing we didn't really get to in the questions earlier, but like the thing that I'm always amazed by is just the level of camaraderie and how everyone in the relocation industry generally gets along really great with everyone else. Like, I don't see a lot of bridges being burned. I don't see people backstabbing or talking down about others. It's just kind of a unique industry in that sense. And it's refreshing because, if you're going to talk down about someone else, I think that says more about you than them. And I really take that to heart. So, and, we're always asked questions about what's your differentiators? And if your differentiator is just dumping on the competition, I think you've just differentiated yourself in the most negative way possible because, tell me what makes you unique, not, why the other person's not good. It's not what I asked.
So I'm curious, like best duos of all time. Do you have any opinions? Is it like Pippen and Jordan?
Peanut butter and chocolate is my first thought.
Oh.
Talk about best duos. But
You're like, was it Montana to Rice, right? Is it only sport or can you?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of them, but, I'm going to say, Brady to Edelman as one of them, or Brady to Gronk is probably the more apt one from my perspective, from a sports angle. But
are you going for Purdy and the Niners?
As an Iowa State alumni, this. Like, I am 100% going for the Purdy Niners. You better believe it.
Maybe you can speculate though, on it's like working together, like when you absolutely have to and still doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes you're going to work with people that you don't really like, but you still have to do a good job.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And I think that's an important thing about being a leader is understanding, you might not agree on a lot, but you have a shared focus and a shared vision and mission. Like, hey, we might not agree on, a lot of things, but we know that we want to push, this message, this vision forward. And, we can have our differences and how we think that vision is pushed forward, but it's a mutual goal, and we'll understand, the finer points of each of our perspectives and putting that into kind of a good, workable, blend of everybody's perspectives to.
That happens so much in sports too, where like, two players on the same team just don't like each other, but somehow like they make it work for the betterment of the team, Yeah. It's crazy.
It's unfortunate for me as a, Patriots fan, seeing the fallout of the post-Brady era of Bill Belichick, and you kind of seen how that relationship eroded over time, and just egos, and while they both were extreme, just psychopaths about winning, they had just one of them. Bill was very set in his ways, and this is how it's going to go. And he didn't recognize that, the game had evolved, society had evolved. Like, you can't, Tom Brady is, a main ingredient for your success. And
what's ego, or like, what's that quote? It's like, it's amazing what can be done if no one cares who gets the credit. And it's like, I feel like out of that, that duo. There was just so much ego between the two of them, but I don't know if it if you'd probably know better than me, like what Brady's view is. I think he just struck me as sort of like a fanatic for winning, not necessarily having his number plastered everywhere. And I think it's interesting then to see how he was the one that won after they separated, and Belichick not so much. You know?
Exactly. I think, it is Bill's ego that got in the way, in my opinion, but it's hard when you've established a program and you've set, kind of the bar for how, I'm going to treat everyone equal. Even, the star quarterback, the best player of all time, but, that evolved, and it's like, he is the best player of all time. And I do need to make some, sacrifices in how I'm going to, approach team building, approach, discipline. I mean, there's stories out. Tom had his own, personal trainer, masseuse, and they got relegated to giving massages in the machine shed where there's John Deere tractors because Bill wouldn't let him use the training room. And it's like, you
got to know when to
ego smashing together. And it's like, guys, like, there's a reason why he played till he was 45, and this is one of the methods. And like, you gotta, indulge him on some of those things.
Well, and it's like, knowing when to concede, and when to stay firm, and like, taking that example, probably should have just conceded. Like, have the the massage, and like with when we're dealing with relocation, working with partners, there has to be give and take, because it is a partnership.
Well, it goes to show you the philosophy of winning in the early 2000s evolved and changed to something different in the 2020s. And if you're not willing to evolve with the times and, accept change and move off, your very rigid views, like, you're not going to be as successful. And I think that's really shown how, borne out with, unfortunately, the Patriots record, especially last year, but the last 4 years without Brady is, when you have to evolve or die. I mean, that's a, it's sad and unfortunate quote, but, if you're not going to evolve in the industry, evolve in your way of thinking, evolve in the way you interact and work with people, then, you're going to get left behind.
What does that evolution look like in relocation right now? Obviously COVID seems like such a big catalyst, but, it was going to change anyway.
Yeah.
And how are things changing,
Well, I think, the biggest thing that's changed in relocation is policies. And, the COVID really opened up it forced all companies to be able to have, a backup plan. And that backup plan was remote work. And unfortunately for the relocation industry, that really, put a damper on a lot of relocation volume, both initially. And then I think in the long term, that's our biggest concern is like how, if you can work from anywhere, where does the benefit of a relocation package fit in? And I think that's something that, the relocation industry as a whole has had to, reflect on and see, like, how do we evolve with this and adapt how we provide service, consulting, et cetera, to our client bases to continue to show the value that we have for them.
And sometimes, I mean, they had like the self-initiated moves as, and they would cover costs for relocation as a retention strategy, just because we didn't want to lose the person and stuff like that. And so it's not like relocation became irrelevant.
Right.
But if you would have just, said, "Oh, the sky's falling, I got to get out," then you're not going to see those opportunities, and you're not going to lead others to do the same.
No, you're not. And I think that's a great thing is, like, again, a lot of, just from the beginning of COVID, just how virtual service delivery was, we had already kind of had some some pieces of that in different industries, like household goods would do virtual surveys and stuff, but that really helped them to refine that process and that method. And not only is that, I mean, that's kind of the standard now, but that's also, a sustainable and useful, thoughtful way of approaching this. You're defraying costs for fuel, you're defraying effects to the environment as well. So I think, there's benefits and there's drawbacks. But speaking a little bit more about how maybe the relocation industry has evolved, I think when I mentioned policies, we've seen definitely a lot of lump sum policies really pop up, and that's going to be one of our biggest challenges overall. It's always interesting to hear perspectives on lump sums. We mentioned the GPA advisory board. Like, there's a wide degree of opinions on lump sums, both from the advisory board members and just to our partner network in general. They say that it's don't waste your time with it, and others are like, no one's really found the niche for this, and like, how do we find that engagement level to get a transferee to utilize that lump sum for relocation services. I always joke with the partners that lump summers are the white whales of relocation. Like, we just, we're always looking for them. We're always, seeking them out, and like, how can we catch them, and like, I think we have some really great ideas, both, from our, in our company and also from our service partners, and some great strategies moving forward. But I think that'll be, whoever solves that Rubik's Cube in the relo industry is going to be very, very successful.
Yeah. And I feel like technology is going to force it. It's going to force it in some capacity anyway. Like, somebody's got to solve it, because now the ability to solve that enigma from a tool standpoint, it's like there should be no excuse now with everything available to you technology wise. It's just a matter of, who's going to put in the work, really.
I think it has a lot to do too with like consulting. I mean, we really need to do a better job of, everyone thinks they can Google something and they're an instant expert on it. It's like, how do you point out features and benefits of what, our experts, our service partners that are experts in their fields, like, this is how these things that they know and their methods and their demonstrated processes are going to make you successful better than, a 2-paragraph summary or someone's review, or, searching for your own housing. Like, hey, they've already done this. They know the market. They know what's a good price. They know how to, negotiate leases. They know, this in this culture, these are the things that you need to know to be successful in a business environment. These are methods for learning a new language that are more than just, the Rosetta Stone or, kind of basic things that maybe people, lean on. There's other ways and there's other methodologies in which to, learn and teach.
Well, and, like, especially with lump sums, I doubt that you're going to find them ever go out of style.
No.
They're always going to be there.
Yeah. And
because companies for a certain demographic are always going to find a use for lump sums, right? But those lump sums, if you don't have the knowledge base, you're going to spend that money wildly and efficiently, right? I mean, what's the adage? It's like, if you think it's expensive to have a professional do it, wait till you have an amateur try.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
So, I mean, like, having an integration between a technological tool that can come alongside the lump summer, right, and provide them that expertise in their hand so that they can then effectively manage their move and get the most out of it. You're going to have a much happier employee on the other end, and happier employees are more productive employees. And so it meets your business bottom line.
Yeah. And I think that's where the engagement and the really showing the benefits of the network is so important. And I think that we have a great strategy for that. And I think the other thing is, getting people on the phone, getting them on a virtual call, like, and talking about, you're going to this destination, and, these are some service partners that we work with for, rental finding or cultural orientation or language training. Like, these are important aspects to make you successful. And these are, reasons why we have them, and we advertise them, and we work with them, and it's for you.
Yep.
So, and it's, not always the most productive thing for someone just to crash on a couch for a month while they're, starting their new job, right? Wouldn't it be better if they're in a nice furnished apartment close to the work site with, a gym on site and a pool? Then they can have their buddy that they're sleeping on the couch. They can come visit them, and then they're in place, nothing to worry about, no roommates. They're ready to be successful at their new job.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you, Lonn, for coming on and kind of let me pick your brain on these things.